Hey you, yeah, you, the one trying to make a video game. I've got someone here that can help you, and that someone is Intel, which is not a someone, it's a company. But this company, they are going to help you as if they were a somebody and a someone and also a something. Check out software.intel.com/gamedev to find out how Intel is making sure all the innovation in gaming continues to happen on the PC as part of the Intel Game Dev program. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev. Sign up and start something new. Internet, you're busy, let's do this. This is the GamesBeat Decides podcast, the podcast where we decide everything about the world of video gaming so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. With me is nobody. This is going to be a quick and different episode this week and just this week because next week we are getting into Game of the Year, and so we're still working on that. I'm doing a lot of editing for both the video version and the audio version and getting Photoshops done and actually writing up the articles. It's a lot of work, people. So I hope you guys tune in for that stuff. We're pretty happy with what we have. But in the meantime, what I wanted to do is give you this episode, which is going to be me interviewing PlayerUnknown himself, Greene, the creative director on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. His game and the game of the PUBG Corporation, the developer that he works at, just released this game, which is a weird thing to say, as I've played 400 hours of it. They just released it into 1.0 on PC, on Steam. So the game is out and finished, right? Well, of course not. It's a service game. It's going to live on forever. Brendan, in the interview, will explain this is just the beginning. But he also explains kind of what their goals were and what their thinking was to get to 1.0. So that conversation is going to come up here in just a second. Before we get to there, I just wanted to give you guys a few housekeeping items. If you like this audio version, you can get a video version on YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching that version, there's an audio version where you can get it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, anywhere where pods are caught. You can also email the podcast at gamespluspodcast@venturebeat.com. That's the plus sign in there. Or you can get us on Twitter, at GBDecides or at GamesBeat. Or just at Jeff Grubb or at Mike Minotti or, at Tokoto to really get a hold of us and let us know what we get wrong. There's not much else to say. I think we could probably just hop right into the interview. And again, we'll be back next week with more, all kinds of Game of the Year episodes, one per day, all next week, starting on Christmas Day. So there's your present from GamesBeat Decides to you. Enjoy it. In the meantime, here is Greene.
It's just kind of, it's like a milestone. It's just like, yeah, okay, we got there.
Yeah, I mean, it's still meaningful to you. I mean, I remember like early on, everyone would always quote you saying, "Oh, we're definitely going to release this game this year." As the year went on, though, that milestone still held the same amount of meaning to you.
Oh no, I mean, we internally, like I knew the plan internally. I saw the roadmap we had, and I was confident. My CEO CH said we will release this year, and we released this year. It's as simple as that. He said it, and I was like, okay, this is a milestone for us. This is not the end of development. Over the next year, we want to really spend, polishing the systems. Look at how we can improve, character movement, how we can improve, weather effects and terrains and add new assets and terrains to the game to really round it out. But really, we feel 1.0, we're kind of getting to feature complete, where like we've got everything we've said we want into the game, and now we get a chance to round it out and polish it off.
So were you guys getting to a point where you're like, okay, we know we have 1.0 coming up at the end of this year, like that's our goal. Some of these things that we're working on, like improved UI elements, for example, We could push those out now, or we could just keep working on them, keep working on them, keep working on them, and save them for the big 1.0 update. Was that ever a decision or a conscious thing that you guys decided?
Well, no, I mean, internally we had two builds. We had the 1.0 build, which was on Unreal 416, and we had the build that was on live, which is Unreal 414, and just pushing the 416 builds, which everyone internally was working on, to live wasn't possible because of the crashes and because of the instability we had at the start. So, that was the issue, and, using Unreal is great, but, doing engine upgrades for us takes, 2 months, 3 months to really go through, and that's why we've had the test server, because it's running on a completely different build of Unreal.
Okay, that makes sense. So, that's been where most of the work's been going into. You guys have had all these things, all these updates, but they've been going towards a version of the game that just wasn't stable, as opposed to the older version, which but wasn't worth putting all this work into. Is that the difference?
That's exactly it. I mean, we had, the live version, which is relatively stable. It doesn't crash.
Right.
It's lacking features, obviously, but it's stable. And when you have a CCU of nearly, over 3 million now, you have to think of that the game on live has to be stable. It's a live service. So, while the test server is great and it runs fantastically well, it hasn't always, and pushing that build to live just wasn't possible. So internally, we're still growing as a team, and we just moved into new offices in Seoul, and they're fantastic. We have a proper big team now, and now we're kind of moving into that thing of maintaining the service and polishing, and for us, it's always been about upgrading. It's just keep moving forward and keep upgrading the game as we move forward. Yeah.
So, having that big proper team, I mean, does that solve a lot of the problems? Like, is it a matter of, just throwing more people at stuff so that you're able to get a 1.0 version of this game finished in time? Yeah, I wouldn't think so. What are the other challenges there?
Oh, no, for us, it was really just, getting all the features we wanted into that build. And that was the 3D replay system and, the kill cam and, all these kind of subsystems that we said we want and features we want to the game. And now they're kind of in. We released the 3D replay system, or our demo system, I guess, the last test server update. And it's great because people get to see what we're trying to do. And, with that system, it allows people to create little machinimas and interesting stories based on their rounds. And, that's what we want to do. We want to kind of give people a platform to play, not only great Battle Royale style games, but also to make great content on. And now that that's finally in, I really feel 1.0 is kind of that sort of, so now this is what we've worked on, and this is what we give you, and I want to kind of polish it and upgrade it over the coming years.
Excellent. So, I mean, you said this is just a milestone. You have other plans going forward. Of course, this is a living game. What happens now, though? On December 21st, you guys are going to maybe take some time off, or what happens?
Oh, what is time off? No, I mean, honestly, we have, as you say, a living game here. This is games as a service, and we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of polish to add. We have a lot of updates to bring, and with going forward, new maps and new assets and new weapons and all that still needs to be worked on. So for us, there's no time off really. It's just we're all working on this, and like any company, you have your time off every year. No one goes crazy and disappears for half a year, but it's where we're very kind of getting into a very good place as a company now. As PUBG, or the PUBG Corporation, we're very much hitting our stride, and it'll take us a little bit longer as we open more offices around the world, but really I feel like we're in a really good place right now. So it makes me happy. And in terms of maybe the new map, I just got a couple more questions about that. The new map, it seems like it's really well thought out. It seems like it's better optimized. What was the process of designing and creating that like? Were you guys thinking about maybe where the original map
you know, how it worked, and then in ways where it failed or whatever? Was that a conversation you were having?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we did a lot of looking back and research into what we, you know, how people played on Erangel, and that of course informed our map design on Miramar. But we have two great teams, you know, both in Madison and back home in Korea, and the two of them work really well together, and you know, they sync up, and you know, they get to like learn from each other, because some of the guys in Madison, they're ex Call of Duty, they very much, you know, they have that knowledge of creating these kind of PvP style areas. And you know, the team in Korea they're just great artists. You know, they really, you know, we get a lot of slack online about, you know, that we just, you know, reuse assets, and we really don't. You know, yes, we get of course some props and stuff from the marketplace. That's what it exists for. You know,
right,
but
totally.
A lot of our assets, you know, they're hand built by the team in Korea, especially our textures and, you know, our trees, especially. Like, our artists go through and look at books from that region to see what trees are indigenous to that region. So, you know, they can go and create or find trees that, and, you know, it's the same with Erangel. We want to go back and, you know, upgrade and add and make it, you know, all our own. We just haven't had time. You know, we've been on a pretty tight time frame, and to get a game out to 1.0 in that time frame, you have to, you know, you have to use the resources that are available to game designers.
And do you bounce back and forth? Like, is it okay? So we're working on the you know, the desert map Miramar, and here's how we're improving it over the last one because we've learned so much. Here's what everyone learned. We're going to talk about that. Now let's go back and pour that into Erangel. Or does most of that get paid forward towards, okay, there's eventually down the road going to be a third map, and we should start thinking about how we should change it for that. Do you have to balance that, or is it maybe all of the above?
No, it's kind of all of the above. You know, the guys in their either spare time or, you know, when they've got some downtime, they do some work on either future maps or concepts for ideas they've had. You know, the team is, because we have a very horizontal structure internally, you know, anyone can kind of take lead on something and kind of go, listen, I want to do something like this. And they bring concepts to the team, and the team saying, okay, this is great, let's do it. You know, we go and do it. And, you know, it is that kind of very horizontal feeling that everyone feels that they have a voice. And it means that dev team, you know, they feel they've got like their input into the game, and their kind of, their passion is quite high for doing it. So, you know, with future maps and current maps, you've got people going, well, listen, let me take this area on Erangel and do something like we just added a forest with kind of a swamp in the center over by the mansion. And, you know, it was someone going, okay, I can make this area more beautiful and more pretty. And, you know, we want to do that. And that's why we say, like, this is a marathon for us, because we want to do this over the next 5-10 years of, you know, new maps, but also going back and looking at old maps and going, how can we make this better? How can we make this play better? How can we make this look better? And that's why I love this team, because there's that continuing sense of let's make it better, let's make it look better or play better or run better.
Yeah, I like that, and I bring that up because I think of going from Erangel to Miramar. There's a plane crash in both, and then the first map, the plane crash is anticlimactic. There's not a lot to do there. There's not a lot of reason to go there or hang around there. And then the plane crash in Miramar, it tells like a whole story, and there's all kinds of, like, it destroys a whole neighborhood. And if you go there, you'll definitely get in a fight because other people are gonna want to land there because it's so interesting, and there's weapons everywhere.
Oh yeah,
it just seems like there's a direct lineage of learning from, like, okay, this plane crash we did was just sort of, we threw it in there, and it doesn't. There's no reason for it to be there in terms of gameplay or storytelling or anything.
Well, you say there's no reason. There may indeed be a reason, because in the original Battle Royale mod, in the original Battle Royale mod, the AI programming would sometimes just crash the plane into the ground.
Okay, so
decide, no, this run I've had it. I like to think he just had enough of the lobby and just went, no, this time you're all dying. And he would just crash into the ground, and everyone would just be, ejected in the same area. So they put it into Erangel. There's been a lot of things in this game that kind of have been put in coincidentally, or put in just for being put in, and they've coincidentally ended up being sort of stories like this that it relates to something back in the mod.
Okay, that's okay. That actually makes a ton more sense. That's really cool. Either way, though, it's like in the new map, it's just I don't know. It just seems like all those elements that are in there just they're bigger and not just in terms of size or scale. They're bigger in the way that they force players to interact with the world or with each other. Yeah, it just seems like a ton of work.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Like our art director Tessok, he's just, he spends hours every day, just going over everything and really trying to give it like the best look and feel for what we can do at the time. And he's led sort of our art team between our both offices. And, I feel very lucky to be able to work with him because he has that passion for really making it as best as he can.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I have any other specific questions, but I wonder if there's anything that, as you guys approach this 1.0 release, if there's something you wanted to touch on that we didn't talk about, I'd love to hear it.
I mean, again, it's just for me, this is 1.0 is a milestone for us. It's not the end of development. Mm-hmm. We want to continually upgrade and improve the game over the coming years, and that's what like our main message to everyone is that this is not it for us. We now have a good team and we have a good team in place to really work with the community to polish this game and really to give them kind of, really polish 3D, like the 3D replay system. I'm really excited for what we can do with that. Letting people create their own movies using, our game as a platform, I think it's going to open up all kinds of doors. So really giving us time to polish those systems and polish the gameplay, I can't wait for next year. We've so much more to do.
Yeah, I guess one last thing. I mean, what is the state of dealing with cheating?
Oh man, it's an ongoing battle.
Right.
We're really, working hard with companies and our partners to really come up with ways to track them down a lot quicker. And, we have a great anti-cheat team, and I see a big board of numbers every time I go back to Korea. And, they're really getting it under control. It's still going to take us some time, but, it's just the systems we need to deal with the level that we're seeing is it just takes time to build these systems, and with an expanding team, you can't just throw people at it. It's like we have tried throwing boxes of money at the problems, but it doesn't solve anything. It takes time to fix this, and it takes time to build, statistical models for what cheaters look like. And, we have implemented some stuff, and we rarely talk about what we actually put into the game, obviously, but, this is an ongoing battle for us and something, we're not going to stop. We want to give people a good and fair platform to play on.
Sounds good. Brendan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, it was a pleasure again.
Absolutely.
Good talking to you. It was
Yes! Yes!